more and more important, so the operators tend to spend more and more money actually on the malware and the malware generation techniques. And a key feature of this is really releasing more malware faster, and a key process then becomes the serial variant process, so creating new variants of the malware continuously. So one model for making money from botnets is really about build to sell models. It's the easiest one to actually get involved in. So key factors in building botnets and build to sell models. The structure of the botnet is important, so a hierarchical structure where you can break off parts of the botnets and resell and provide multiple operational use. The reputation, past use and history of the botnet is important. Location of the botnet victims, the robustness of the malware agent, and the reputation, your own reputation within the seller forums. Once you build up those botnets, pre-processing of the botnets, so splitting, clustering, and organizing all the victim collections is important because that's going to provide how you associate value for those sections of the botnets, as well as synchronizing the malware to different command and control channels. So everyday access to botnets. So if you look at botnets in the range of 100,000 to 2 million bots, rental is about $200 for a 24-hour use at the lower end of the 100,000 bot agents. And pricing seems to be $50K, seems to be a common number that's sort of thrown around for getting access and taking full ownership of 100,000 plus type botnets. But still, much of this is still based on, build-it-yourself kits, and when I look at many of the botnet operators, the guys that actually have interactive control and build the businesses this way actually are not malware authors, not reverse engineers, and the malware is an important part, and they will invest in people that will provide those services to them, but they won't actually be involved in actually creating the malware itself. And of course, buying the botnets, and I think things have changed quite a bit. So here's a shot from 2007 on sort of pricing, and here you see bot victims by the thousands. So Australian victims, so 1,000 bot agents for $300. Okay. And as you sort of move down the different countries, the different ratings, and that's this particular site is dead, long gone. But what we found is that the value of the botnets has actually been increasing. So originally I sort of thought that, as the years go by, the botnets become more of a commodity, the value goes down. Well, actually the value of the bots and the bot agents is going up. Now, if you don't want to buy the botnets exclusively, then many of the services will have a online service where you rent a section of that particular botnet. So you buy 1,000 or buy 2,000. And you can select which particular countries or which particular assets that will be under your control, and then you'll have them for a fixed period of time, and then you pass them back after you use. So moving a little bit faster, advancing the malware and the command and control. So unique malware updates and daily updates of the binary is important. QA assurance, so in guaranteeing that even before that piece of malware leaves your computer and goes out to all the victim machines, can be almost practically guaranteed that it will have zero detection on mainstream antivirus because of the QA process and effectively checking to make sure that it's undetectable before it's released. Another part is about network propagation. So, 3 years plus, much of the botnet building was based on worming features and worming functions. And you still see that. The volume hasn't gone down, but however, the percentage of worming features actually in use for building bots and botnets has decreased. And the preference has been more targeted infection of hosts as opposed to blind worms just navigating networks. Key reasons for that really is that network detection of worming capabilities and worming features have become mainstream and pretty much standard in all enterprise or large-scale detection systems. And so serial variant production, so there are plenty of providers and service providers that will take your piece of malware or your malware requirements and will create 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 new variants, unique variants of your piece of malware or your malware requirements and generate that for you on your behalf for a very small fee. Okay. Now all this is really done for a reason, and I wanted to quickly step through some of the features that you'll see in contemporary botnets and botnet building. So you have a victim machine surfing the web, hits a drive-by download sites. Okay, so it gets exploited, and as part of that exploit, we'll be pointing to a foreign site. A different site will actually host the malware. So there'll be a request that comes back to the host, to the victim machine, to say, I'll pull down this file. So this file may be called a dropper or a downloader. On the machine, on the computer, the victim's machine, unloads, unpacks itself. There are multiple files. They may or may not be binary files. Often they have scripting language, script files in there, which is all part of the cleanup process. It starts one of the malware agents, and what you'll see is that it will try to reach out to the internet, but not so reach out to the internet. And last year and a year before, it would just reach out to see whether or not it could get to Google or something like that, see if there's an internet connection. Okay, part of that is to make sure that it's not the piece of malware hasn't been caught by an automated analysis system, and that there's not a good guy looking to investigate that. And of course, the good guy said, well, actually, we'll have a whitelist of the sites that you can go to. So Google will Google results will come back to the victim machine, and then they would try to connect out to their command and control. Now they do a mix of whitelist to graylist and sites that are bad-ish, but it's definitely not command and control. Now, once it gets that validation, the malware then moves on to the second stage. So while it was getting that validation of internet access, it's already created a local file which contains all of the saleable information, such as email addresses, any identity, password theft, anything that's stored or remembered by your web browsers are all collected, compressed, put into a file, encrypted, and then passed up to the update site. Now, the update site also provides, maybe one or multiple update sites will actually have the real bot agents. So the real, the actual bot agent that's going to be used as part of the botnet. So that comes down, it unpacks itself, and actually, part of this process, it actually removes all the things that led up to that bot agent. So all the things about, checking to see the internet connection, disabling antivirus, doing other things at the host level to make sure that your bot agent is going to be robust, all is cleaned up. So all the evidence trail is removed at that stage. And once that particular bot agent is now installed and everything else is cleaned up, it'll then reach out to the command and control, and then you'll start seeing the real interesting monetization of the victims. So when I look at taking the stolen data itself, so payment and growth. So payment of disposable services is important. So investing in systems will typically make use of free accounts, free payment accounts, and And so once you've sort of built up that first stage of pulling down the personalized account details, you start seeing the personal information actually being used as a growth vector or an infection vector for building up the botnet. So you see that the email addresses will be used and sent locally for social engineering purposes, which has a higher yield. Now, I want to sort of like step into the different sort of area and really look at the different ways that people are actually making money from this. And one of the ones I wanted to look at is really, spear phishing services as a business. So, you hear an awful lot about, targeted attacks, targeted spear phishing, and, why me? Why did they get me? And all this sort of stuff. Well, frankly, spear phishing, especially against corporate entities, is actually very, very easy. Access to all the lists of key candidates, who the CEO is, CFO, and all that is available online. Generally, much of this information is free, and it becomes very easy to personalize the attacks. Now, if you actually have a bot agent that's managed to infiltrate the corporate network, then accessing their internal mail system, the enterprise mail systems, is a great treasure trove. So it becomes very easy to enumerate all of the employees as well as their job titles. And if you think of things like a Microsoft Exchange server, if it's all been set up with Active Directory, it also has their cell phones, their home email address accounts, everything. Now, all of that information, what you'll see is be pulled back, processed into list formats, and then these lists are then available to the market. Okay, and so three types of sort of lists. So black lists, grey lists, and white lists. So black lists tend to be acquired from underground forums. Grey lists, these sellers that you're not quite sure. They probably have black hat ties, but you're not quite sure. And there's no way you can prove one way or the other. And then you have, the white, the commercial leads vendors. So much of the things that, corporate marketing teams will reach out and have a constant flow of information. All the data is conveniently processed, CVS formats, standardized versions, and all this is integratable into all the standard tools for spam campaigns and other automation tasks. Now, when it comes to targeted delivery, the botnets make it a much easier task to actually get this targeted delivery. So targeted messaging, so being able to take and process those lists and launch large campaigns or multiple rolling campaigns against organizations. The botnets also provide the hosting facilities for the malware and the affected computers. Allows you to enumerate the target organization through port scannings and other types of passive observation. And also becomes the mechanism for selling the bots that are installed inside that organization. When I looked at things like whaling, so going for the CEO or the key guys at the top of the pyramid inside the organizations, they're typically associated as high-cost targets. But interesting enough, the value for services, so finding guys that will take their botnets and monetize, and if you specify a particular organization or a particular class of CEO, for example, then the types of costs that you will see being charged back to you is somewhere between $500 and $100,000. I think that much of these higher-end ones, the $100,000 type things, are just current generation script kiddies, talking about it when not actually delivering. Now, many of the reputation type star ratings and things like that, you'll see that a typical value placed on this type of service going after CEOs, CFOs, and named organizations, will tend to go for about $1,000 to $2,000 per access. Now, horizontal spear phishing, so looking at a particular class of people or profession within multiple organizations is interesting. So multiple organizational targets actually make it a little bit easier for the botnet campaigns. So there's a lot of tuning in the messaging and tuning of the campaign. And the results is based on the number of victims, victim machines inside those organizations belonging to these guys. And so typical value per head, somewhere between $20 and $200 per head. Now, vertical spear phishing, so breaking into the organization, then gradually enumerating and working your way up inside the organization to find key data assets as opposed to positions and roles. Unfortunately, I couldn't really get a good feel for what the current rates are. It seems to be more of a day rate, if you like, and an effort rate as opposed to what the total volume is. So what you'll see are typical rates of if you're after a particular type of information from an organization, then the day rates will be in the $1,000, $500 to $1,500. So on par with standard consulting services, if you like. Now, I've made mention a few times of campaigns, and what I'm really talking about here is that there is a common myth that botnet operator equals owner and operator of a botnet. That's not true. Okay, so botnet operators, botmasters run multiple botnets. Okay, even the largest ones that you'll hear about of millions of victims around the world, and that will be operating as multiple botnets, and it becomes a little bit difficult, a little bit harder to separate the different campaigns. So, reasons for going down this process means that, you don't want to lose everything in one go. If someone severs all your command and control, you don't want to lose your entire business overnight. Multiple campaigns also increase the probability of being successful inside attacking organizations. So you can do multiple waves of attacks, multiple vectors, multiple themes with different payloads. And generally on these sort of campaigns, it's okay to infect machines multiple times. And so when it comes to the campaigns themselves, what you'll see is that you'll have a group or cluster of distribution points, and those services may run in multiple campaigns themselves as well. And the campaigns themselves can be very sophisticated. Some of the operators that I've seen and observed will run maybe 3 to 5 campaigns per day, and those campaigns may last for 1 day to 5 days before they keep on rolling.